The picture shows that I used one 6-inch for the top, one 8-inch for the bottom, and 6 11-inch circles for the body. The head is constructed out of a styrofoam board that I picked up at Home Depot. I highly recommend that you do start with a template of your child's head so you know what size you actually need for your circles. Then I went ahead and I drew out the circles on my styrofoam board using the shapes for the top part, the body part of the head, and the lower ring of the head. I then cut them out and will start sanding them down. Okay, so I cut my first circle. It came out a little wonky. My edges were not completely straight, so I'm going to go ahead, here's my kind of circle template, I'm going to go ahead and try to sand the edges and see if this helps with our hand sander, and see if I could straighten out some of these edges, as it's important to make sure your sides are completely straight and not on an angle. So let's try it out. So I went ahead and sanded my sides. There's a little bit of rough spots on the edge here, but I think I'm going to have that facing the bottom. So I don't think we are going to see it much, and I could always sand it out a little bit later, but this worked really well, so I'm going to go ahead and cut out my other circles. Here you see a dry fit just to make sure all the circles look good and they fit together well. I'm going to start sanding it down, and once it's sanded, I'm going to apply a regular wood glue in between the layers. You don't have to worry too much about the inside, just keep to the outside. You can also keep wiping it down as it leaks down. I place something heavy on top just to make sure there's a good bond. Now that everything is dry, I started carving the inside out, and I also started shaping the Lego head, trying to get a true feel for that roundness on the top and the bottom layers of those rings. They are shaped by sandpaper, and just keep working that sandpaper onto the outside ring until it's nice and smooth. Okay, so yesterday I went ahead and I glued the bottom ring and the top ring onto the headpiece. And then I also carved the whole inside just for ventilation, and carved out the interior of the head. So I have my son here. We're going to try it on his head, and then I'm going to show you a video of it. All right. Alright, so this is a test run. It's sitting on his head pretty much where I want it. There's no eyes yet. We're going to do that later. But, oh, hold on, keep it on, bud. Oh, alright, so we are going to carve out the nose a little bit more.
Yeah.
And make sure he has plenty of space in there. Alright, we'll be back. Hey guys, I thought while I was up tonight, I might as well work on this. So what I'm doing is, I put one coat of the wood glue, and it dried today, but I am not happy with all the kind of rough edges and divots that I could not sand out. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm trying to actually put some kind of spackling in there, just some hole fillers, and see if that helps, and let it dry overnight, and then I'll give it another good sand, and then go ahead and do another coat of that wood glue. So just giving you an idea, just trying to get it more smooth at this point. All right. All right, so I gave it another good sanding. It's pretty much smooth now. I carved out a little bit more of the interior and sanded it down. You can't, it's a little dark there. Sanded it down so my son's head can fit in there without any issues. I went ahead and found a Captain America Lego head and printed it off to size to fit what I had. As you can see, it kind of fits exactly the size that I needed, so it gives me a good template. I am going to go ahead and start cutting out the eyes and see how it looks. Okay, so I am starting to put the epoxy on the head, and I mixed it up just like the instructions are, and now you can see I'm kind of getting the first coat of it. I'm going to make multiple coats, but this is just the start of it to make it look a little bit more plasticky. It's been about 12 hours since I put the first coat of epoxy on. It is extremely shiny and does look very plasticky. Like you could tell, it's hard. I am going to put my second coat on, and honestly, after that, I think the head will be good to go. Then we'll start decorating the body, putting the body together. Here I went ahead and I drew a template for my son's body size. I measured his shoulders and then his chest and his hips down. You want to keep the shape very snug and tight so they can walk around and move a lot easier. This kind of gives you an idea on how I measured the legs and the chest for his body. And then I went ahead and I started just cutting out of a big cardboard box the shape of the top of his body, his arms, and then the hole for where his head is going to sit. I test fitted it to make sure it was a good fit, and then I added the legs onto the body. And here is an idea of what it looks like. All right, okay, I am done constructing the body. There is the top, and we got the legs. Pretty much everything's done out of cardboard. I have to figure out the back of the legs still and how I'm going to do that. I'm going to wait for my son to come home and do a test fit, and then I will try to figure out the back of the legs, and then I'm going to epoxy the whole body. All right. And here's a test fit run. He fits very well inside the body with the head on. He said he can see through the eyes. I made the legs slightly narrower so the top can just fit on top of where the legs round out. I am going to eventually attach the lower legs to the body by duct tape inside once I am done epoxying the entire body. This will just give it a shine coat, and it will make it a lot easier for me to spray paint the body to match the head. A quick tip, make sure that you make the legs shorter than your son's legs by a few inches so they're not dragging on the ground when he is walking around. Okay, I just spent a little time putting detail onto the face. And what I ended up doing is I had a template that I printed out of Captain America. And I pretty much just cut out the eyes, the face, the mouth, and the A. As you can see, it would go right there. And I went ahead and I painted. This is actually just paper, and I put the color of paint right over top of the paper, and I decoupaged it with Mod Podge right on top of the face, so it keeps it kind of looking cartoonish, and I think it is turning out to be pretty good. So there you go, a highlight of his face. I think we're almost done with the face, and then we're gonna move on to the detailing in the body. Okay, today I started adding the detail on the body, and what I ended up doing is cutting out the star out of paper and his belt out of paper, just so I can get a better idea of where everything's gonna sit. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just paint the paper and decoupage it onto the body. And then outline everything in black. And here's the final product. We think everything worked really well and it fit him very well. We ended up just attaching the legs to the body, one leg at a time, so he could still swivel them back and forth. He fit pretty comfortably inside, but we found that he could not go up and down the steps very well, so we just ended up removing the legs at the end, and he just trick-or-treated without them. So I would suggest to make either a knee part that would bend with the child's knee, or just don't do the legs at all.